Where were you? What were you doing when it was announced Kawhi Leonard was not only joining the Clippers, but Paul George was going with him?
First of all, what's up, guys?
How are you?
I was on the plane actually going to Atlanta for the Big Three.
Were you on? Did you have internet on the plane?
I didn't know. I didn't even know until I
Landed?
I landed. I woke up because I took a red eye. I landed in Atlanta, and it came up on my notification. And I said, "Are you serious?" I wanted him to go there. I had a funny feeling he was going to go there. I thought it was going to be him, KD, and then I started thinking about it. Well, Kawhi may miss a few games, and in the West, it's kind of hard to miss some games from kind of body management thing. So then I saw KD, going to Brooklyn. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if Kawhi is going to be there without another guy. But then again, you can't count out the Oracle, right? Jerry West. Like, he just pulls him out of his hat. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. And, look, obviously you want to credit Jerry West because he is an advisor. And he has the Midas touch. I mean, it's really amazing.
It's
like you don't want to give him credit, but don't you have to give him credit because he is part of this thing? But the entire front office really deserves kudos. On the other hand, it was a massive Herschel Walker-like trade that went back. It actually, in terms of the future, makes the Anthony Davis trade pale by comparison. But there's a lot of different levels to it. Let's first start with Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers. And then we'll get to what it means to LeBron. Then it means what it gets to the West. And then we got to get to what it means to Oklahoma City. And the reports out that Russell Westbrook may have been offered to Toronto. We got to get to Toronto turning down the possibility of having Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and Kawhi Leonard on the same team. Like, all of these things are fascinating. But first, to Kawhi Leonard. All right, so what we think happened, and you can only go based upon people you respect in the media and how they cover this thing.
Right.
In postmortem is he had a meeting with the Lakers, which he moved, and he moved so he could also meet kind of clandestine, not just with the Clippers, but also with Paul George.
Yeah, a little secret one.
Yeah,
how
so
about
then
that?
apparently he had previously approached Kevin Durant about the Clippers, and KD wanted New York. So then he moved on, and he moved to Paul George. He convinced Paul George to walk in to Sam Presti's office and say, sorry, but I want out. So Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers, what do you think in terms of fit? What do you think in terms of pick as opposed to the Lakers and the Toronto Raptors?
I'm loving the Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers. I love Jerry West. I love Doc Rivers, Lawrence Frank, Sam Cassell, all those guys. And then, the Clippers deserve it, right? You traded away, from DeAndre Jordan to
Chris Paul to Blake Griffin, right?
To Chris Paul. It was needed, right? Like, the Clippers were building, and they just couldn't get over that hump. And hopefully with these two guys, high-level Paul George, high-level Kawhi Leonard, and then you have the guys that are already there, which I love. Patrick Beverley, Montrezl Harrell. Lou Williams, of course. He's the bench GOAT. I call him the bench GOAT. He's the best guy to come off the bench ever. But
more than Jamal Crawford?
Listen, I love Jamal Crawford, but Lou Williams, are you serious?
Oh, I'm just asking you.
Okay.
Jamal Crawford has gotten buckets.
That wasn't an ask.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't an ask.
I'm saying, like,
Okay,
there's a discussion.
That's a difference in asking.
Okay.
That was more so like, you like Jamal Crawford better than Lou Williams? Is that what you're telling me?
I would say Jamal. Look,
there you go. That's it.
No.
Right,
they're one and the
Doug.
same. They're one and the same in that they're amazing at their ability to impact a game offensively off the bench.
They are.
Jamal has done it for longer, whereas Lou has probably done it better in a shorter period of time. It's not like Lou's just into the league, but I'm saying Jamal Crawford, it's like the last 20 years this is what he's done.
Yeah, it's like 1A, 1B.
Okay. Anyway, that's an aside to the conversation. Whatever.
No, we got time.
It's great. I look at it and you go, I kind of feel like the Clippers have built the perfect thing.
Perfect thing.
Right? Like,
think about their defense. Oh my goodness.
Yes, you have two-way stars, right? Like two-way stars who, if Paul George can remain healthy, and that would probably be the biggest question I would have. Is he had his knee scoped at the end of last year. He had the shoulder problem. He was the MVP of the league first half of this year, then he has the shoulder problem. But outside of that, you have two-way players. You have Pat Beverley, who's a junkyard dog, right? Who, you don't necessarily love as your starting point guard unless you have other guys that can do it in their own right, and then he can play on and off the basketball, and he's tenacious defensively. You have the ability to, with Zubac, have a true big, but then you can
Zubac. He reminds me of like Marc Gasol a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like he's 21 years old.
He's a baby.
And then they can go with Montrezl Harrell, who can switch 1 through 5. Like they have, and you mentioned the scoring prowess. They have 8, 9 deep, and then you pointed out maybe this is the most underrated thing. Front office all kind of fits in their roles. Michael Winger comes back to be their GM. He negotiated this deal. You mentioned Lawrence Frank, who has the coaching acumen as well as the front office acumen. And then having Sam Cassell, having the former player who everybody respects on the bench, which some teams lack, kind of that conduit between some of these players, and Doc, who's won a title, right? And the hard thing in the NBA and coaching is, in order to win a title, you have to have respect of the locker room. In order to have respect of the locker room, you probably have to want to win a title, and he has actually both. Like everything is, the only thing holding you back was, it's the Clippers, man. I mean, you know it because you've lived it. You understand it, right? Like the Clippers, no matter how much people liked what they're doing, they're still seen as the Clippers. And for Kawhi Leonard to shun the Lakers,
that's just the past.
I understand, but it's big. Like they've literally never been past the second round. I mean, I think that's a huge thing that we saw, a seismic shift, more so than turning down LeBron. It's Brooklyn was the landing spot, the destination instead of the Knicks, and in L.A., the Clippers were the landing spot instead of the Lakers. That's literally never happened before, where somebody turned down the Lakers to go to the Clippers.
Now check this out, right? 90s, 2000, 2010. In the last 30 years, how many championships have the Lakers won?
30 years?
Last 30 years. 5.
Right.
How many championships Chicago won in the last 30 years?
6.
Right? So who's the most powerful team? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going back to the listen. I'm not saying that the Lakers and the Boston Celtics are not the dynasty as far as dynasty. But it was so long ago. We're worried. Right now, you can make your money in small markets. Right now, teams are getting better. Right now, all this stuff. So we're like the Clippers. The reason I'm saying this is because I'm back in the Clippers, where it's just like, things change, right? It's not carriages and horses no more. It's not like you got to wait to go home to get on the call and call somebody. Everything changes now.
Now, it should be pointed out, like, the Lakers still got a shot to win the title, right?
The Lakers got a shot to win the title, but my point I'm trying to make is it's not like the Lakers has been dominant.
No, they've been the worst team in the league the last 6 years.
Right, but the last 30 years,
yes,
Chicago Bulls has more championships. The New York Knicks only had 2 championships, and the last time they had a championship was 1973. So that, you know what I mean?
Yes, but branding, historic branding still works. It's
but
still.
How's it work if it's only been 30 years and you won 5?
I understand,
you're so dominant.
But here's the financial dynamics of it are this: the Lakers.
You talking about finance now? When we talking about winning. Now, because in the last 30 years, if you're so dominant and it's marketing-wise, then your team should be dominating more, but it wasn't. It was spread out, which is good for everybody. Michael Jordan got 6. Houston got 2, right?
So
Detroit.
So we would all, I think we would both agree, like, this is good for the league.
No, that's what my point.
My
point is, I think people should need to be more positive when it comes to, oh yeah, it used to be the Clippers. Well, guess what? In the past, like since 2005, when I got there, the Clippers has been making a push. So it's actually fairly new as far as them growing through the aches and pains.
Right.
It's just like life and psychology, right? If you come from a bad growing up situations that were bad, PTSD kind of situation, you're going to keep doing bad things, reverting to bad things, or the universe, say the basketball universe, is going to put you in bad situations till you overcome those things. So then once you break that seal, Toronto Raptors, boom, now I'm off and I'm running. And I think that's what the Clippers did. You got a little bit up here, and then there's so many other good teams, then boom.
The part that I don't think is being discussed enough, Dan Patrick's show, Doug Gottlieb, Cuttino Mobley, in for Dan the Danettes, is I think this is awful for the small markets. Do I agree with you that you can make it financially, successfully, traditionally? Yeah, I guess. Okay, but what we've seen now with Anthony Davis leaving New Orleans, with Paul George made sure he put on Instagram, like, this ain't about Russ. Okay, so, well, it's not about Russ. Maybe it's about coaching. It couldn't be about management there. But like Oklahoma City and and New Orleans, and you add this to Memphis, and all of those other small markets are sitting there going, "Are you kidding me? That we signed Paul George last year, signed him to a 4-year contract.
Yeah.
We moved mountains in order to trade him. We risked it. It was a risky move.
Who else
we
they
signed,
did that to?
We signed him, and he walks in a year later and says, "Sorry, but I'm out." And now you have to go and load up on draft picks, hoping that you hit the Zion Williamson lottery, but also hoping that once you hit the Zion Williamson lottery, he doesn't walk in and go, "Hey, I'm out."
Yeah.
So I think it's a very interesting spot the league is in, the dichotomy of the fact that players can dictate where they want to be,
Right.
and they clearly don't want to be in those markets. And we'll see if Denver can compete. We'll see if Utah, because on paper, those teams look like better overall teams. But we've seen in the NBA that stars win, and the stars are now aligned to be in LA with the Lakers and with the Clippers, in Brooklyn eventually when Kevin Durant comes back, and in Boston and in Philadelphia, maybe in Miami if they get Russell Westbrook, instead of in those small markets. Milwaukee, and then we'll see. Like, again, Giannis is telling us all the things we want to hear about. I'm staying. This is the only place I want to be. Like, we'll see. All it takes is Giannis to walk in and go, "Hey, love it here, but I want to go to New York. Love it here, but I want to go to Chicago,
That's a great point.
or I want to go to LA."
The Clippers signed Blake Griffin to a monster deal,
Right.
and traded him the next year.
Yes. No, it does
Right.
work. It absolutely works
Tobias
both
Harris
ways.
was averaging 22 for the Clippers. On the way to the playoffs, traded him mid-season. Like, I just think that the NBA is on a upscale when it comes to, even if it's small markets, the way it's spread out. And thanks to Toronto's of the world, Milwaukee's of the world, and listen, even in New Orleans, they have such a young base of guys that I love Lonzo Ball. I love him.
Yeah.
And I love him with Drew Holiday, and I love him with the young core. I think he's going to flourish there. And New Orleans is going to be that team that just like peaks, kind of like that OKC, where I'm not saying they're going to win a championship, but they're going to give some noise. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be fun to watch.
Hi, I'm Doug Gottlieb from Fox Sports Radio, and you need to subscribe to the Fox Sports Radio YouTube channel where you can hear and see me. Why not? Plus, everybody else who's awesome here on Fox Sports Radio.